Mighty Lich Master, your need for power burns deep. Raise your children and send them to Artois, where they can create more orphans of death. The dwarfs of Karak Ziflin reside here. They are strong and stubborn. Leave them to drool over their gold. But be ready, for they will despise you as their neighbor. Beyond the mountains, the pastures of Bretonnia meet with the forest of Athelloren. The wood elves are friends of none and sit idle, protecting their mighty tree. The dukedoms of Bretonnia lie fractured and weak. Feed from them, my lord, and swell your legions. But be mindful of the Red Duke of Musilon, for he hungers also, and watches your every move. You are the Lich Master. Strike at the heart of your hated Bretonnia, and bring death to all those that stand before you.
Hello, Monsters Abound here, and welcome to a brand new campaign with Heinrich Kemmler, the Lich Master, and his new faction, the Barrow Legion. That's right, he's moved out of Castle Drakenhof after having the talk with Manfred, and he's got his own place in the Grey Mountains now. I'm sure Manfred is feeling a little bit lonely. He's still got Gorst, of course, but that guy spends all his time locked in his room with the reanimated bodies of his brothers. So, well enough about Manfred and his stupid little round moonface. This is about Kemmler and, of course, Krell, the dynamic duo of Warhammer. In fact, Kemmler is really more the creepy old uncle of the Warhammer world, the one who wants you to sit on his knee and smells faintly of urine. He may be nuts, but that's no restraint in the Warhammer world, where many of the noticeable heroes and villains of the setting are not only totally off their rocker, but have called their rocker George and then set fire to it. Heinrich Kemmler was a powerful necromancer, maybe one of the most powerful there's ever been, and roamed the lands always yearning for more power. He hoarded every piece of arcane knowledge and trinket he could lay his sticky little paws on, but eventually his rivals caught up to him and bopped him. Bopped him good. Well and truly bopped, Kemmler escaped with his sanity in tatters and roamed the mountains as a ragged beggar, occasionally busking outside of underground stations like a better groomed, more attractive Ed Sheeran. It was during this time that he happened across the tomb of Krell, once a powerful warrior of Khorne, at the time that Kemmler found him a very dead skeleton. Krell had previously been risen from the dead by none other than Nagash to wage war upon Sigmar, the then emperor of the newly formed empire. Nagash was defeated by Sigmar, but Krell escaped and proceeded to wage war against anyone he could find with his undead minions. Eventually, Sigmar got off his arse and finished him off at the Battle of the Glacial Lake and entombed him once more. Kemmler, probably guided by Nagash himself, raised Krell once more to be his skelly BFF, like the Warhammer version of the Chuckle Brothers, constantly getting into hilarious scrapes while coveting objects of dark power and murdering anyone who gets in their way. Classic Chuckle Brothers. Despite this, Kemmler has some sort of deal with the Chaos Gods. What that deal is and what Kemmler gets out of it is unknown and will never be known, as during the end times Kemmler decided to pin his colours to the mast right in front of Arkin and got bopped again, but this time fatally. Don't worry about how Krell felt about this, as at that point in the lore, Krell and Kemmler had drifted apart. So sad when that happens. But then the entire world was blown up, proving once and for all that the end times was wank. So, along with Kemmler's new home, we also have some new mechanics for the vampire counts. So we have Bloodlines. Bloodlines are used by vampire count factions as some of the most powerful lords to battle, each with a unique set of attributes specific to their bloodline. Summoned via the Blood Kiss resource, additional bloodline lords will grant further faction-wide benefits. So this update came with the Vampirates, and of course was free. And you can see that we now have a new resource called Blood Kiss. Awaken ancient and powerful vampire bloodlines and consume blood kisses, which are acquired by killing faction leaders in battle, by assassination, or by vassalizing factions. So quite a specific way of gaining them. So that means if we kill any faction leader, and that doesn't include the legendary, that includes legendary lords, but it's not just related to them. Any faction leader can be killed. So even, for example, I think it's Sician, whatever his name is, of Artois. We kill him, we get a blood kiss. Blood kisses can be spent on the blood... Yes, thank you, you can go away. Can be spent on the bloodline. So, of course, we've got 4 different bloodlines. We've got the Lhamian, we've got the Von Karstein, the Blood Dragon, the Necrach, and the Strigoi. And each one gives you a lord which has different abilities. So, for example, Lhamian is, I think they're quite good with agents. Yep, so we get upkeep reduction for agents with 1 blood kiss. With 2, we get vigor loss reduction, medium for all armies. And with 3, we get campaign line of sight for all characters with 1 Carstines, its casualty replenishment rate, and Sylvanian crossbowmen. That's right, you can get missile units for your vampire armies, additional public order, and then eventually actually get access to handgunners as well. That's very good. With the Blood Dragons, you get weapon strength, you get unit experience, and then you get immune to untainted attrition, very strong. And with the Necratch, we get research rate, we get winds of magic increase, and then finally you get upkeep reduction. Again, very, very strong. The Strigoi ambush success chance, always nice. Vampiric corruption, great. And then public order reduction due to presence or lack of corruption. Again, a very strong power there. So of all of them, I would probably say the Lhamian's probably the least attractive, which is ironic, of course. I quite like the Necratch because I know lots of people love the Blood Dragons. I know the Blood Dragons have a huge draw, but frankly, I always think brains over brawn. You know, thinking is sexy, and there's nothing sexier than that, probably. I mean, look at that. That doesn't look sexy, does it? Not sexy, very sexy. Round little moon face, pointy hands. Yeah, good. Okay, so that's the Bloodline. So obviously we're going to be making use of those, but I've also... I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little restriction on myself, which is I feel like Heinrich Kemmler is very much a necromancer first and foremost. He's not a member of the Midnight Aristocracy. He works with vampires, but it's not really an equal partnership, is it? The vampires are always going to think they're better. So I think I should not be allowed to use any vampires, be that lords, vampire lords, or heroes, so the vampire heroes. I shouldn't be allowed to use those until I confederate or vassalize a vampire faction. At that point, obviously, I'm the boss. I can tell them what to do. We can get vampires. But until that point, I'm going to stick with necromancers. And obviously, you know, we're going to have banshees and white lords and stuff like that because they're just risen from the dead, aren't they? So no vampires. Everyone else is all good. So. No, we've already got 1 creepy old man. We don't need 2. Go away. So we've got the first chapter objective issued. But before we do that, let's have a quick look at what benefits we get for playing the Lich Master. So first of all, we like mountains. Yeah, that's right. We like altitude. That's how Kemmler rolls, high up. We also get diplomatic relations plus 30 with the Worshippers of Chaos because, of course, we got that weird deal with them. And we get upkeep reduction for Necromancer heroes, which means we can actually use a lot of them. And actually, that's quite good because Necromancers steal technology, which is, that means we can race through our technology tree. And also, they can assault units, which means we can really weaken enemy forces before we engage them, which is all good. Plus, of course, we get a lot of spellcasters. So, that's a win as well. We also have...
Spread the rot.
Yes, Kemmler. We've also got Kemmler himself, and he is a wanderer. You and your master are desiccated relics of a dead age. All units in Heinrich Kemmler's army are immune to non-vampire count territory attrition, which means he can just wander around, which is just as well because, obviously, we're in quite a bad start position, in my opinion. I feel like we're in quite a bad start position. We also increase recruit rank for necromancers, and we have, of course, Krell. And if we have a look at his skill tree, we can see that we've got the classic sort of necromancer lord skills, but we've also got the Krell skills. So the first one, obviously we can summon Krell no matter what, but our first skill will reduce the speed which he degrades at, because of course he's a summoned unit, so he will degrade as normal summoned units do. Then we can increase his, or give him skills, we can increase his defensive abilities, increase his attack abilities, and finally make him immune to the attrition suffered from being a summoned unit. So basically, as soon as we summon him, he'll be fine for the rest of the battle. We've also, of course, got Kemmler's magical items. So he's got the Chaos Tomb Blade there. So that's very nice. Doing a lot of good stuff there. We've got the Cloak of Mist and Shadows. So that's very defensive. Very nice. And we've got Skull Staff. That's all very good. Liking all that stuff. So obviously the sooner we get those, the better. And one of the problems with Kemmler's always been that he starts off, obviously, in Sylvania. And all of his quest battles and all of the things you need to do for his quest are in Bretonnia. Because that's in the lore where he's kind of based. So the fact that he now starts near Bretonia is great. Really, really like that. So we got the chapter objective issued here. So for many years, Heinrich wandered the Grey Mountains as little better than a half-sane beggar. But that was long ago. Since then, the Lich Master has grown in infamy. Still, these mountains hold a special place in his black heart, for it was here that he uncovered Krell and struck a dark bargain. As such, surely he has the right to claim these highlands as his property. So you to occupy, loot, raise or sack 4 different settlements, and we'll get some dark magic for that. And let's have a quick look at Blackstone Pass. So this is a new settlement that was, I think it was Carrick Varn that was here before. Is that right? I can't actually remember. But we've got Castle Drakenfels, and this is actually a bit of a leap back to very old Warhammer lore. The Castle Drakenfels was, I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was quite prominent in the lore at one point, but has since been sort of superseded. But the Arch Necromancer Constant Drakenfels once imprisoned his victims within these crypts so that they could be tortured at his leisure. He sounds like a barrel full of laughs, doesn't he? That's going to give us the ability to recruit Necromancers, which is good. It's going to give us public order, research rate, hero capacity, and vampiric corruption, as well as providing garrison of some Khan race and income generation, which is, you know, all great. Brilliant. Love that. Nice stuff. Now, I could immediately recruit a Necromancer, but I'm not going to do that because, obviously, Kemmler increases the recruit rank for Necromancers in the local province. So I may as well only recruit them once he's actually in the province. But first and foremost, we're going to hit Gisero over here. Now, the Forest of Ardennes actually currently starts off with 60% vampiric corruption, which I'm going to suggest is them trying to point out you should take this province. However, I'm not convinced, because although it does start off with 60% vampiric corruption, I think taking out Karak Ziflin is going to be far more important, because the longer you leave them, the stronger they're going to get, and dwarves are already going to be a massive pain in the arse to kill. So I'm thinking maybe we attack Gisero just to start off with. Let's pick up some chaps. So we'll do that, just raise the dead. And we'll hit Gisero, we'll sack it, and then we'll come back and hit Karak Ziflin. I think that's my plan. And over here, I think I'm going to start with... the Defiled Cairn. The crypts of Sylvania can be dangerous places for ghouls lurk and feed on the rotting remains within. That's going to let us recruit a White King, which I feel is going to be quite important, because at this moment in time, we do not have anyone to fight enemy heroes with, basically. We've got Krell, and he's great, but limited at actually dealing with enemy heroes. So I feel like we need a White King quite soon to just be our bodyguard, basically. So, and also it's going to give us Black Knights, it's going to give us the Corpse Cart. That's all good stuff. We can already raise Skeleton Warriors. In fact, we can already recruit Skeleton Spearmen from this place. We can get Felbats as well. So I think, yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the Defiled Cairn to start off with, and then we're going to hit Gisero. And I mean, we could just auto-resolve this, but it's the first battle of the campaign. It's got that new campaign smell, and I love that smell. So let's smell it. Just breathe in that new campaign. But actually that smells quite bad. But I guess that's the problem when you have an army full of zombies. They don't smell very good. So let's have a quick look at our zombies. I like the colour scheme. The colour scheme is nice. Kind of suits them, doesn't it? Sort of... is that teal? Teal and blue. That's very nice. There's Kemmler. There's a lovely face skirt made out of other people's skin, which is, you know, I mean, some people may say a bit Lady Gaga. I say very environmentally friendly. That's recycling, that is. Those people probably didn't need that skin anymore. I hope not, anyway. Although they probably did. Then we've got the Skeletons, of course. Skeletons look great. Look and go. Doing their Jason the Argonauts move. I've got Dryrains reskin mod on, so they look a little bit more fancy than usual. But still looking very, very good. So there's the spears, and there's got some sword ones as well, of course. Their stats aren't great, but they're not actually the worst. So Yeah, Kemmler. Meanwhile, on the right flank, we've got the Hex Wraiths and the Direwolves sneaking through the forest. So there's our Hex Wraiths. They look lit up like a Christmas tree in the forest over here, aren't they? Look at them go. I mean, they're ghosts, so I'm not quite sure why they're walking around that tree, but that's the thing they do. And there's the Direwolves there. Good boys. You're a good boy. You're a good folly bad boy. Yeah, I probably should feed them more. And we've also got the Khan race moving around on the left flank. Of course, classic Grim Reapers there with their big old scythes and floatiness and kind of giving off some smoke there as well. Maybe coal-powered? Don't know. Don't know what you power Khan wraiths with. Anyway, the rest of our army is now advancing very slowly because, of course, Zombles are very slow at only 23 speed. Skeletons 31 is because the Skeletons started to catch up and move through. Kemmler again quite quick. And the Archers already trying to pick off some of our Skeletons. And our Khan race, that's going to be doing very little damage. It's quite a lot. I mean, I guess they're trying to protect this little hamlet over here. It's quite a few of them to live there. I guess they actually live over there, but I like to think they all kind of pack into these houses like sardines. So we've got our Hex Race on this flank. We're going to cast Van Haal's Dance Macabre, so that's going to increase their speed and melee attacks. Their melee attack is going to go up to 50, and they're going to be doing, well, probably not as much damage as they should do because I charged a braced unit and that was probably a mistake, but this is a titsy little garrison, who cares? And the Khan Wraith's just hacking away at these guys here. Basically, they was just to lock down those infantry units so I can cut down the real problem, which is these archers with the direwolves, and then pin down. They're now going to get eaten up by the skeletons, the direwolves, and some zombles if the zombles ever get into range. Meanwhile, Krell's here. Hello, Krell. Krell's been spawned right in the middle of these spearmen. They didn't like that. He's already killed 11. Impressive. I mean, the Hex Race are now racking up the kills because the units have been terrified and are now running for their lives. Basically, I want to try and rank these guys up as quickly as possible because ranking them up is going to give them more melee attack, more melee defense. That's going to make them far more useful. They're already quite a tanky cavalry unit, so upping their melee attack, their attack strength is going to be very, very useful. And with that, the garrison is now running away, quite understandably. Poor chaps. So there we go. First battle is won. Not that there was really much. It was never really going to be particularly tricky, was it? Felito Talk, which is, I believe, complete garbage. Yes! Affects flying units. What's the fucking point in that? Absolutely none. Okay, we're not going to occupy. I'm just going to sack to start off with, I think. Felito Talk. Oh, we've got student. Plus 10% research rate. That's actually quite nice. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fall back to Blackstone Post. The reason I'm doing that is because I feel taking out the dwarves is going to be key. And they actually start off with Montfort. So what I'm hoping is that these guys will see Montfort as an easy touch and go down and try and sack it. And then we can go and take their city from them behind their back. We're going to take... let's take Restless... There's a lot of skills that I want straight off the bat, but we're going to go with that first. We're going to get some more Skelly boys. Let's get some bats as well, because they're quite actually a tanky unit. So I quite like that. We also want to... I wanted to get a... Tough Master of the Black Arts. Okay. We'll get a Necromancer next turn. But we're going to start off by getting the Book of Arkin, I think, because we have new technologies. I don't know if we've got any more than that. I think these are all ones we already had. But the new ones, particularly, are the Defiler of the Ancient Burrows, which reduces upkeep for Skeleton Warriors and Skeleton Spearmen by 100%, and Master of the Putrid Horde, which does the same for Zombles. So what that means is basically you can have free Zombles. Now what it does is it reduces the upkeep by 100%, which means if the upkeep increases over 100%, again, so for example, each army you get increases upkeep by 15%, so after, what, 7 armies, I think? Then Zombles and Skeletons will start to cost upkeep again. So then it doesn't make them free, it just reduces their upkeep below the point where you would actually spend any upkeep for them until the point it rises again. But still, it does mean you can literally have armies full of free skeletons and zombies. So we're going to start off with the Book of Arkin. Also known as the Tome of Bone, this dread volume, authored by Arkin the Black, is filled with his secrets for instilling vigour and other deathy abilities into zombified and skeletal vessels. And that's going to just increase leadership for zombies, skeletons, and graveguard units. Liber Necronomicon I would quite like, because you know what, I really like the spirit units, and extra weapon strength for them would be very nice. I'm not too bothered about the recruit rank. Upkeep reduction would be good as well. I mean, the Hex race costs 350 upkeep, so you know, knocking a bit off that, only a good thing. Only a good thing. So, I think I'm fairly happy with that to start off with. Can we do any deals? So we start off quite friendly with Moussalon and also the Vampire Count, so Manfred, but we're too far away to do any trade deals with them. We already have non-aggression packs, so I don't think there's anyone... Oh, the Skull Smashers actually quite like us. That's a bit weird. Oh, they have an affinity, apparently.
Ready.
Oh, you have Vampiric Influence. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And you like the fact we're at war with Artois. Now, our starting region is actually a little bit weird, because we start with Blackstone Post, which is of course the capital. Carrick-Ziflin is down here, and that's owned by the dwarves. And then Grungzint is actually over here. Now, so we sort of have this sort of broken up province. There's not many provinces like this in the game, and most of them are mountainous, so that you can actually hop across them with like underway armies, but obviously we don't have the underway, so actually Grungzint is very indefensible from our point of view. But eventually, we probably do want to take it, and I think my plan is, if we can deal with Carrick-Ziflin, then we can come back and deal with Castle Artois. At that point, we're kind of next to Moussalon, and let's face it, we're probably going to be at war with the Empire, Marienburg, Bretonia, as well as the rest of the Bretonian factions down here, probably the Wood Elves as well. I might try and get Skarstik on side. Skarstik might be a good ally to have. Moussalon we eventually want to confederate with, so we can have vampires, obviously. But I think, like the Norskans could well be allies with us, because we're going to be fighting a lot of Bretonians, and they'll quite like that. So if we can take the northern part of this peninsula, I think that will be quite secure, and if we can get Marienburg, that'll be quite rich and bring us a lot of income, and we can then use that to defend ourselves. So I think my plan is try and capture the north of this peninsula after we deal with Carrick-Ziflin, hopefully get some defences there, because then we can get Grungzint, and then hopefully have the entire province under our control, because at the moment we are not, even if I went for Grungzint, I don't think I could hold it, because it actually comes out onto Marienburg. And so I'll need to take Marienburg first, and basically that's just not really feasible at this point in time. So, yeah, tricky start for poor old Kemmler. Of course, plus the point that we don't have any vampiric corruption spreading buildings at this point. Gisero, obviously the Forest of Ardennes, does have vampiric corruption, but it's dropping by 6% a turn, because obviously there's nothing actually there to increase it at this point in time. So it's a good start position, but I think dealing with the dwarves first is going to be optimal. Plus, of course, if we can deal with Rorik Granitson, I think is the faction leader of Carrick-Ziflin, then, blood kiss. Nice work. Good job. So, let's hope that Carrick-Ziflin bugger off. Because I would be much in favour of them buggering off and leaving Carrick-Ziflin open. That's it. Go on, bugger off. Thank you. No, don't come back. What are you doing? Okay, well they're marching, so not necessarily the worst. And there's Artois. In fact, what I should do... Someone said there was a mod to do this, but I forgot to get it, as per usual. Let's make us go fast. Let's make allied factions go fastest, because we don't really care what they do. In fact, I don't really want to see what their agents are up to. Don't care. Enemy factions I am interested in. And neutral factions I don't really care what their agents do. Okay. I do currently have a mod to stop AI agent actions, because at the moment they have like a success bug where they can't fail, which isn't particularly great. So
My axe thirsts for war.
I've decided to turn that off to stop me from raging. Okay, we can get a couple of them. What we do want to do is get a Necromancer. So, Master of the Black Arts, not so... I mean, tough, you're not going to be in combat, and to be honest, you're probably just going to be an agent for me. So let's get Savid Jaeger, just because he increases ambush success chance for armies in locally owned regions. So he's probably the best of a bad bunch. We're going to make you Steel Technology. We're going to make you a Specialist as well. So let's do that, because we want the technology boost so we can get those free skeletons. And
For the wisdom of the lair.
okay, the garrison. No, that's Grung's-Ind. Carrick-Ziflin. Carrick-Ziflin. Okay, they've only got a couple of units.
My axe thirsts for
I
war.
reckon we can do this. It's ballsy. I mean, basically, the only units we can count on doing any damage are the Hex Wraiths and the Khan Wraiths. And they have magical attacks, which the dwarves are resistant to. But I feel like this is probably the best chance we're going to get in the early game to deal with the dwarves. So I'm going to take it. Who do I want to... I could attack... Who's this? A Rune Lord, isn't he? So that's a Rune Lord. So we could attack the Rune Lord, maybe try and kill him ASAP. Because otherwise he's going to be a pain in the ass to deal with. Okay, let's do that then. This could go horribly wrong. Okay. They've got some Thunderers, they've got some Quarrelers, but they're quite damaged. So we've got more units than them, so we can lap around. Hopefully deal with their missile units. And then hit their infantry line. Rorek is going to be a pain to deal with. We're going to need Krell to deal with that. But they don't have magical attacks, so at least that's something. So it turns out that the reinforcements were coming on our side of the battlefield, which is actually quite useful, because it means we can immediately jump all their missile units, which are probably going to be the main danger. So there's Kemmler moving ahead of the main force, and then changes his mind and scoots back. Meanwhile, the rest of our Zombles and Skeletons going to engage the Dwarves. We've got the Khan race on the left flank there. And on the right flank, we're just being cautious not to try and envelop them, because we want the Hex race and the Dire Wolves to have a nice little entrance here into the back line, so that we can cast Van Hal's Dance Macabre and come right into these Quarrelers and mess them up. Now, of course, Dwarves are magical resistant, which means that the Hex race are slightly less effective than they probably should be, but they're still going to do a lot of damage. The Dire Wolves now moving in around behind. And then they're going to come into the back of this unit here and start munching on them. That's all good. And we've got Krell here fighting Rorick Granite Hand. Come on, Krell, get stuck in. Look, don't be polite about it. Get that Zomble out of the way. Come on, that's it. There we go. He's out of the way now. Now you've got access. You missed. Well, good attempt. Well, just keep at it. Basically, Krell's the only thing that's really going to be able to deal with that Dwarf Lord, because he's going to cut through our army otherwise. Meanwhile, the Hex race are now bogged down in combat, and we need to pull them out of there and give them another little charge. Wow. I don't have fangs. Thanks very much. Fangs very much. The Fellbats are... They're defensive enough, but they're quite squishy and don't do an awful lot of damage. But they're quite good at pinning units down, but just don't expect them to live very long. Hex race getting a little charge there. That's all very good. The Khan race have finished off one unit and are now coming back to try and weaken the dwarf left flank. Meanwhile, the Rune Lord is he actually moving, or is he just... No, he's just having a little rest. Okay there, buddy? Okay? Yeah, no, okay. Okay, back to the action. So the Hex race have managed to rack up 35 kills, which is not bad. They've mostly been fighting the miners, which are slightly more squishy than the dwarf warriors. Where's Krell? Is Krell having any luck with the dwarf lord? He has actually managed to take down some of his... There we go. To get his stuff done. Come on, Krell. Boff. Yeah, that's what we want. That's what we want. The Hex race are doing a great job. Apart from that guy there, he's not doing a good job. They're doing a good job at just cutting their way through the rear of this line. There we go, we're just backing out so we can get another little charge. The Khan race have managed to completely destroy the dwarf left flank, and we're now able to roll up the line. Kemmler's even getting stuck in. Another little charge from the Hex race, which is going to send some dwarves flying, do some damage there. Of course, they get their charge bonus each time they charge, but they are drained. And of course, being tired does reduce the effectiveness of a unit by around about 30%, I believe. Of course, everyone's tired at this point. These guys are exhausted. The skeletons are exhausted. Everyone's tired. It's been a long old battle. We've grinded down these dwarves. But there we go. They're starting to run away, and the Hex race can now just chomp their way through them, rack up those kills, hopefully get some experience, because that would help. And even the enemy general has decided to run away. There he goes, fleeing off in the distance. Krell's chasing after him, but unfortunately Krell is only slightly faster, 33 to 32, and he's getting zombled. Come on, Krell, get over there. Stop, maybe run. There we go. Okay, Krell's chasing after him. The Hex race is just mopping up the runners, trying to get those little... there we go. They got a rank now. That's good. They got a rank, and the rest of the army is now fleeing that Rune Lord. Seeing the carnage is off as well. And that's the dwarves dealt with. Okay, well, we didn't kill the Rune Lord. He just ran away, but that's fine. We did beat up Warwick, although we didn't actually kill as many as I thought we had. A lot of them actually got away. Let's say... I mean, I could murder the captives, but I think I'm just going to dominate. He's going to die. Heinrich Kemmler has got a treasurer. While they started off as destitute nobles of Stirland, since becoming undead, the von Carsteins have accumulated great wealth. The treasure is in charge of the Master's Vaults. Income from vampire crypts and vampire keeps plus 8%. We do not have any of those, so that's completely pointless, but we do have a healing potion, which is actually going to come in useful. It's always just a nice little magical item to have. Can we just take... I think we can probably just auto-resolve that, can't we? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine, and we're going to occupy that. So Karak Ziflin is dead. That's good, because I have not... honestly, I had nightmares as Kemmler of fighting dwarves who are just so heavily armoured, and, you know, a lot of... I mean... Some of your early game units, like the Hex race, have magical attacks and they're resistant to them. So basically, it's just a pain in the arse. Talking of magical resistance, Heinrich Kemmler has picked up an obsidian trinket. The barest essence of a Jinn captured within black obsidian is enough to weaken enemy spells. Okay, so Kemmler's picked up another skill point. Or 2 skill points, in fact. Okay, so... Master of Dead is nice because it gives regeneration. I don't know how much regeneration it is. It reduces Winds of Magic for Raise Dead, which we currently don't have. So maybe we go for Invocation of Nehek first. And I think Krell degrading at half speed could be useful. So let's grab that. Let's do something like that.
Spread the rot.
Let's do something like that. And then let's just fill out our army with skeletons. I'm going to get rid of the zombies, I think. Zombies are... they're slow. They're not very effective.
Ready.
I mean, even as a reinforcement, they're good to like tie up enemy units with. They are a meat shield, that is true. But I feel like skeletons probably do the same job and slightly better. And that's a lot faster, so you don't have to wait for them to catch up and so be under heavy, you know, artillery bombardment when the enemy gets artillery. you can just move quickly with the skeletons, whereas zombies, they just seem to trail back. It's a pain in the ass to wait for them. 23 versus 31 speed. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's actually quite a lot. Okay, so we're running out of time for this episode. The first episode of the Kemmler and Krell show. But I think so far, so good. We beat up Gisero, took some cash off them. I think that's probably my next target. And we defeated Karak Ziflin, which I feel is good because it's going to stop the vampiric corruption reduction quite as much as it would have been. Because obviously, had we had Rorick Granitson there, plus the Rune Priest, I think they generate +1 untainted each. So that doesn't sound like a lot, but early game that's going to be a lot, and it's going to bring the vampiric corruption down, causes some issues. So I feel like taking out Karak Ziflin early on is probably pretty legit. And I think now we'll head back to Gisero. Hopefully by that point our Defiled Cairn will be ready, and we'll have Savid Jaeger, who I'm going to rename, but I don't quite know what I'm going to name him yet. What does he look like? Got a round little face. He kind of looks like Hitman, doesn't he? Maybe he should be my Hitman. Maybe that's who he is. I don't know. Have a think about that. And we're going to move Heinrich back to Blackstone Post. Hopefully get some Black Knights, I'm thinking. And the White King would probably be useful. And then head back to Gisero. And then hopefully take on Castle Artois. Try and get some of that research going. Try and get those free skeletons, because I think they're going to be very useful in the early game. But there we go. So thank you very much for watching. And I will see you next time.